Today, we're actually going to cover the topic of interracial dating and like our experience that kind of, what it's been like for us as we've kind of navigated this journey together.
Our experience as an interracial couple has been overall pretty good, I'd say. We're very fortunate. And I think it really depended on three pieces. Well, first and foremost, it depends on the region and location you're in. We're originally from California. Well, he's originally from New York, but I've been in California, Southern California all my life. And where we actually met, the city is actually very liberal, it's very common that you see interracial couples, like mixed couples. So I feel like that's actually the norm. So I think for that reason, I think it's our experience like meeting each other and then going on dates and having a relationship and dating there might be very different than if we were to have found each other, like, let's say, I don't know, like the rural parts of Texas or Georgia, right? Like certain rural and maybe like not as developed cities that are more traditional, more conservative. But either way, we didn't really have a whole lot of issues in that area. Second piece, I think we were very fortunate to have very loving and supportive family and friends. First and foremost, I didn't even know you were Black. Race wasn't a big thing for me. I didn't really care what color what the color of your skin was. Like I didn't care if you were black, blue, purple, yellow. For me, it was mostly just shared values. And I guess that's the third point. The foundation of our relationship was built on shared values. And I don't think it was anything, exclusive to race. And then to be fair, we both share immigrant parents. Your mom is of Caribbean descent. My parents are Koreans, and they're first generation immigrants. And so I think that was a really cool shared experience, like understanding what our parents went through and what they sacrificed for us to be here and to have to be able to live the American dream, essentially. So I think that also helped. And on top of me being very Americanized, both of us being very Americanized and having American values, I think that was like a big thing for us.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you. I guess prior to dating me, did you traditionally just date Korean guys, or like what was your dating history like?
That's a good question. I feel like I dated all around. Again, because I was more Americanized, I noticed I couldn't relate as much to Korean men. And I think Korean Americans, I did date, I did talk to, but I'm talking like mainstream Korean. It was hard because like looks wise, I didn't feel Korean enough. Like I didn't feel Asian enough. I felt more westernized than Korean. So I think because of that, it's not that I hated Korean men or anything. It's just I couldn't really fully relate and have chemistry with someone who wasn't as westernized as I was. So to answer your question, I think I've dated, honestly, all around. I've dated white, I've dated black, I've talked to like Mediterranean, European mix, melting bowl. I've dated the rainbow. But for me personally, race wasn't something that I was specifically looking for. Like I wasn't like on the dating apps like, ooh, I'm a woman looking specifically for a black man, a chocolate man, like tall, dark, and handsome. Like it didn't even occur to me. For me, it was more so you'll find any good-looking person within any race. So for me, like race wasn't a big thing. It was more so did they have similar values as I did.
I do think where you grow up and what you're exposed to does play a factor, and what's acceptable or what you feel is normal, like the norm for you. So I was actually born in Brooklyn, New York, but my family moved up to Warwick, New York when I was about 5 years old. And it's like a suburb. And so really nice area, but as you can imagine, was more predominantly white. So even at school, there was probably like a handful of like Black people, and then there was Hispanics as well. I don't think there was like any Asians like in my like town or whatnot.
We were
at that time, at least.
We were the minority.
So yeah, I think like this kind of growing up in a different area, a predominantly white area, because you're just what you're exposed to.
Sure.
It's kind of like, okay, well, you're kind of just more open. And I will say another interesting thing for me that I experienced, at least where I was, is a lot of the people who were in my school were like, they would move up from the city, and they would kind of like think that they were like kind of street, or like they had some kind of like edge, or they were kind of louder or more boisterous. And like, I just wasn't, I was a shy kid, still like introverted to this day. So that never really appealed to me. And, you know, that like, I kind of associated some of that stuff. Like I would think some of the Black women that were in my school weren't some of the, what I was looking for. Like they weren't what's attractive to me. And it's unfortunate, right? But I think
it was like stereotypes, or?
No, I mean, like, they were like, some of them were just loud, right? And just like, not a stereotype. Like, I'm like, this is actually who they are, right? But then that's also true for even some of like the Hispanic women that were in my school too. Like, you can tell how some of them might have carried themselves. It was different, right? And it's not like a bad or whatever case may be, but that just wasn't what appealed to me per se. And I think some of that set some of my framing and my shaping. And, you know, my mom's a very strong woman, and like, I appreciate that she's a Black woman, very strong woman, and like very independent. Yeah. Yes. So like, there's things like that I very much appreciate. And so to me, it's not so much around like Black, white, or whatever the case may be. To me, it's more so like the characteristics that I'm looking for, the qualities. You know, I think that was a big thing that shaped me, is like being in a predominantly white area. I think when I was younger, I think there was like a natural like preference towards like Hispanic women. Like that was something that like kind of caught my attention. But then as I got older, I feel like it just kind of I broadened my horizons. I think when I went to college, I specifically went to college at Rutgers University because I wanted something that was a little further from home, like, but not too far, because I wanted to still be able to see my parents and like, you know, go back and connect with them. But then also I wanted more diversity. So that was a big driver. So I think that was kind of me being able to experience more cultures, talk to more people. You know, I was open to just anyone. I dated all different races and stuff like that, and just trying to find out, you know, who kind of matched on that level. So.
Yeah, and one thing that came to mind is I mentioned stereotypes because it is a thing where certain people will fetishize, fetishize like Asian women, or, you know, like Black men, or right, like different races and different genders. So I know that was a thing. I know I've been fetishized before, and so that was something that I was also very aware of when we were dating. Like I didn't want you to specifically just be with me because like I'm Asian and like I'm supposed to be submissive and like, I mean, that's just my personality. Like I don't think it's more so a race thing. Again, being very American, being very westernized, like very individualistic, independent, like speak my mind, right? But for me, I think it was just my personality just happens to be kind of more on the, like, I don't want to say submissive because that is like condescending, but but like, you know, like I'm very easygoing, I should say. And that did get associated with me being Asian, and being stereotyped as like, oh, Asian women are supposed to be like catering to you and da, da, da. So that is a thing.
I think there's nothing wrong with like dating and like just meeting different people. I think culture plays a big factor into things. And, you know, touching on your point of like Asian women potentially be more submissive, or whatever the case may be, there's certain things with certain cultures that you could admire about that particular culture. Like, for example, I think, this might be even just an immigrant thing in general, but I think most immigrants are very much focused on education, right? Naturally, my mom was a big proponent of me going to school, getting a college degree, and she drove me in that. And so naturally, you appreciate someone who's intellectual, right? Who also sees the value in education. I'll be honest, like, I'm not a big like formal education person. Like, oh, you know, you have to have all the degrees, right?
PhD.
Yeah, like, it's not so much
collect
about
them
that.
all.
Yeah, some
Infinity
people.
Stones.
Yeah. I'm like, I've never been like that kind of person, or like seeing it as like a status thing. But yeah, you know, it is important when you think about the job market, just putting yourself in the best position and, you know, building a better life, right? Those things, those qualities are important, or like this commitment to progression. But I think like it's nice to kind of appreciate certain things about different culture. For me, what I've always valued, and it's even for like Caribbean women as well, is, I don't want to say it's submissive, but you want a woman who puts the family first, right? Like, she understands that if she's with a guy, she trusts that man to make decisions. And I think some people take that the wrong way, but there's nothing wrong with like you being with a man and saying, hey, I trust him to make decisions for us, and like I know he loves me.
Granted, you make her feel secure.
Yeah,
granted, you know,
of course,
make her feel safe and actually provide that security to make her like tap into her feminine energy. I think every woman of any race has that.
Yeah. And I think like there's certain things that you just will cultivate, and these things can come up very quickly when you're dating someone or talking to someone, you kind of find out very quickly. But, like on that topic of like the different cultures and whatnot, I'm curious to get your thoughts on, how is it as an Asian woman dating a Black man? Do you feel any kind of way or any thoughts, or like, just curious.
It's funny you say that, because I think the only thing that I'll mention is a little bit awkward to navigate, just a little bit, is when you are in a room, you're the only non-Black person in the room among family and friends, and you got a big family, got a big family. Your family and friends are extremely, like, they take such pride, and I respect it so much. I admire it and I want to learn from it. But they take pride in this thing called like Black love and Black excellence. And, I would love to hear from other people who, want to chime in on that. But for me, as a non-Black person, it is definitely awkward at weddings or family weddings or family reunions. I completely understand that there is, with Black love and Black excellence, there is this shared experience of, culturally and historically shared experience of being Black. And obviously, like, I don't want to discredit the long history of oppression that, Black people have experienced historically. At the same time, I do wonder, like, low key, like, I know our friends and family are very, like, your side of the family, they're very loving, they're very accepting of me, and, I'm pretty much blend right in, other than the tone of my skin or color of my skin. But I do low key wonder if there is this thing where they look at our relationship, right, and they, I don't want to say like discredit, but they're like, oh man, it would have been great if Andre would married a Black woman, preserve Black heritage and keep our roots strong, like I feel awkward. I just feel really awkward. Like I love you, and I love everything about you. I love your heritage. I have so much appreciation for Black culture and Black history. And I never want to be in a situation where like I offend that, or, I'm a threat to that. But at the same time, like at the end of the day, for me, it, as awkward as it is, like it doesn't affect me to the point where at the end of the day, we come home to our, beautiful home, and, it's our life, it's our love, right? And it doesn't really impact, like, we're not maliciously trying to stop the Black life, like we don't hate our own, race. I don't hate my own like heritage. I don't hate, I love being Asian American. Like I don't, and I know you don't want to come off as like you're not proud of being Black. You're not proud of your heritage, but I will say it is an awkward thing. And it's just funny because at weddings or reunions, and especially at weddings, because like pretty much every one of your cousins, and your distant cousins, and everyone in the family, extended family, they're all with, someone who's Black. And so at weddings, we're all like make a toast to the couple, and everyone's like, Black love, like I'm just like here sitting in my chair, being the only non-Black person in the room, like, like, woo, love Black people. It's just an awkward thing. That's all I can say.
It's interesting for me to navigate, like even as a Black man, like a lot of people have experience like racism, oppression in their own, in their own life. And that's not to discredit them. I get, the importance of that. To me personally, despite my upbringing in being in a predominantly white area, I don't really feel like I've noticed the impact of racism or oppression like directly upon me. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist for others, and that I, slight other people for it. I guess for me, I try not to look for any kind of issues. There's this person I would work with. I'm telling you, I work with him all the time. I work with this guy all the time. Never had any issue with him. My friend meets him for like 15 minutes. We're at the beach and we ran into him and his family. We met him for 15 minutes and he's like, oh yeah, he was talking about doing a rehab project on this old slave building or whatever. I was like, what? I'm like, how did you even get in that conversation, right? And like, and I don't know, right? Like, I don't want to belittle his experience, but I'm just like, I'd worked with this dude all the time, and that never would have crossed my mind of him being racist. Like, we have a great relationship, like work relationship, whatever the case may be. Meanwhile, my friend met him for all of 15 minutes, and like, he had a certain interpretation. So, take that with what you may. I know it's, people will say stuff like, oh, I'm colorblind, or whatever the case may be. Like, we understand, like, race is a thing here in America. I mean, I think globally it's a challenge, right? There's racism that people experience. So I'm not going to sit here and, come with you some like kumbaya story, like, oh, it's all good.
We all bleed the same blood.
Yeah. It's like, I get it, right? But I personally try not to subscribe to that thinking, like, personally, because I just don't want to be a victim. Like, I don't want to feel like, oh, this person has some kind of control over me, where like, that very well won't be the case. You could say like, oh, you can go through all the history and all the breakdown and say how it could be impacting me. But how I live my life, I'm not actively feeling that, right? So
you're not feeding into that. I understand that piece, though I'm not Black. Being Asian American, like, especially when we first came to the States, like, racism was part of my life. Like, I was bullied for being, I actually grew up in a predominantly, before I went to school in a predominantly white area, I went to school in a predominantly Hispanic area. And I was bullied for being the only Korean there. And I mean, there was like one Chinese kid there, but we were the only two Asian kids there. So, during recess, like, I'd get comments of like, oh, like, go back to China, like, and I'm not even from China, I would love to visit there one day, but, but even like growing up with that, like, I agree with you. I didn't want to think that I'm different because, there is a time and space for you to take pride in being different and being like, owning your race and being like, yeah, I'm proud of it, right? But at the same time, you don't want to feed into too much into feeling like you're so different from, other people, that you're just like you almost like put yourself on a pedestal, right? Like, no, like the air is better up here, and then look down on other people. You're feeding into what they call like wokeism, right? Like being too woke, and like you're seeing everything, every little thing in your life as a race thing. Like, oh, how come that person didn't give me that job? It's because of my race. Like, oh, how come that guy didn't say yes to me because I'm not white? Like, I agree with you. I don't want to succumb to I don't want to, and don't get me wrong, my mom especially, like, she felt that being first generation immigrant, like, they were the ones at the forefront of discrimination at that time. And which brings me to my final point is like, our experience overall, to summarize, has been good because we met in a very different time than, like, let's say our parents or grandparents. So to be fair, like, it's not to disrespect the history of oppression that our ancestors went through, but it's also like, I don't want the past to define the present and the future. Like, I want to be respectful. I want to be considerate, and I want to have space for your lived experience as a Black man living in America. But at the same time, it's 2026. Like, I feel like we're all in a bit of a melting pot. So again, going back to location, we're in Charlotte. We're in a very pretty up and coming, like, pretty diverse, I'd say, for the most part. Where, like, if you see an interracial couple, it's like, oh, cute, they're so cute together, right? They care more about like your interaction and dynamic more than the color of your skin. So again, it's a different time now than like when our parents or our grandparents were going through. So our experience was just positive for that reason.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say, like, when dating and whatnot, you're entitled to have your preference. Like, I don't think that matters. The issue is when you start to kind of impose your thoughts on other people, right? Like, my parents have never had an issue with like who I dated or a case may be, like different race or whatever case may be. Like, they probably kind of already knew that based on like who I was attracted to or whatever in the past. You have your preference. You start to date, you meet people, this and that, and ultimately God kind of leads you to who He wants you to be with. And I can confidently say, like, God led me to my wife, and like, I have no doubt that she was the one for me. And so you just have to have that conviction. And when like, it sounds cliche, but when you know. And the idea for me that I focused on was, I don't want to live my life based off of what someone else is going to tell me what I should be doing, this and that. Like, and I'll be honest with you all, like, there's been times in my life where, the thoughts of like, comparison or like what other people think has controlled me in some other areas, right? Even like dating, just life in general, I try my best to be true to myself, right? And people may or may not understand it, but that's their journey. Obviously, you would want your family to be supportive, but I think if they're not supportive because of the person's race, then it kind of reveals their heart. It kind of shows you who they are.
And at the end of the day, the love you have for your person has to be greater than the opposition.
Yeah.
So
100%.
If it's not, then if you care more about what your family thinks, if you care more about, getting that dirty look from the community of your race or, the opposite race that you're, I think your relationship is going to struggle.
Yeah.
So you just have to ask yourself, like, do I love this person and this connection more than the opposition that we're up against? Because, not every couple is blessed and fortunate to have those three things like location and, support from your village and community and family and friends. So I'd say that is the only question that I'll leave you guys with. But thank you for seeing around. But till next time.
Till the next one.